One legend vanished beneath the sea, another was born among the mountains.
What if the world's greatest vampire was once a real prince? This is the true story behind the world's darkest legend. Europe in the 15th century was a continent on the edge of shadow. Europe stood divided and uneasy. To the east, a powerful empire kept advancing. Wallachia stood between empires. Mountains guarded ancient secrets. Beyond the roads, silence ruled. Every sunrise carried uncertainty. A brotherhood swore to defend Christendom. Among them stood Vlad Dracula. In this uncertain world, a son was born. No one imagined the legend to come. Even childhood could not escape the shadows. Father, why do these walls feel so heavy? Because, my son, history's weight is carried by the living. Soon a prince would become a hostage. The Sultan demanded loyalty and hostages. One decision would change 2 young lives forever. Stay strong, my sons. No farewell could soften the journey ahead. Behind them, home slowly disappeared. Everything ahead felt unfamiliar. They were treated as honored guests, yet forbidden to leave. When darkness fell, homesickness spoke louder than words.
To survive, he began to observe.
Subscribe and continue exploring history beyond the legends. Fear slowly became determination. Survival began with observation. The passes are fortified, but their numbers grow. Then we strike first, before they unite. Every mistake carried a lesson. Anger remained hidden behind silence. He studied power before he would one day wield it. Books taught knowledge. Captivity taught survival. Home returned, only in dreams. The prisoner remained, but fear no longer ruled him. One day, he would return. The child who arrived in chains was slowly becoming something history would never forget. Part 3. The Prince of Blood. Wallachia was falling into chaos. Vlad knew his homeland needed a prince. He crossed the mountains toward an uncertain future. War had reached every doorstep.
He swore Wallachia would stand again.
Loyal men answered the call. Subscribe and journey deeper into history's forgotten stories. Hope returned, one rider at a time. At last, Wallachia had its prince once more. The Sultan marched with overwhelming strength. Wallachia could never match such numbers. Subscribe and witness history through the eyes of those who lived it. Villages were emptied before the enemy arrived. The forests became Vlad's greatest ally. Darkness belonged to those who knew the land. Before dawn, Vlad struck the heart of the invading army. For the first time, the mighty empire paused. Strange whispers spread through the camp. The deeper they walked, the quieter the world became. Before them stood a terrifying warning. Even an emperor understood the power of fear. Subscribe for the true stories behind history's greatest legends. Sometimes terror defeated armies before swords could. Soon, all of Europe spoke his name. To some, he was a savior. To others, a monster. History would remember both. Victory brought no lasting peace. Enemies waited beyond every border. The greatest danger came from within. We must act before the shadows claim us all. The boyars will rise. Vlad rode to war one last time. History remembers the outcome, not every moment. Then Vlad disappeared from history. Even his death became a mystery. A throne remained, but its ruler was gone.
Subscribe and continue this journey through history and legend.
The prince was gone. The stories were only beginning. The birth of a legend. Long after Vlad's death, his stories kept traveling. Rumors became written history. Every retelling changed the man a little more. In the monastery, they wrote of Vlad's piety. In taverns, they told of his bloody justice. In courts, he was the dragon prince. The forests hid more than trees, they hid imagination. Soon, every frightening story had the same name. The prince became something greater and far more mysterious. Centuries passed, but the legend refused to disappear. Then, one writer gave the legend a new life. A prince entered history, but Dracula entered eternity. Transition to Part 5. Fade to black into Part 5. Dracula conquers the world. In 1897, one novel changed the legend forever.
Millions discovered a prince they had never known.
Soon, moving pictures gave the legend a face. The legend crossed every border. Every generation imagined Dracula differently. Dracula had become part of popular culture. Subscribe and explore the stories that shaped our world. Dracula became more than a monster. From the forests of Transylvania, the shadow reached the world. The story refused to remain on printed pages. Cinema gave the legend 1,000 new faces. Dracula became mystery, romance, even comedy. Every generation imagined Dracula in its own way. Subscribe and discover the true stories behind timeless legends. A local legend became a global language of fear. Dracula became an idea, not just a name. The prince belonged to history. The legend now belonged to everyone. Every generation discovers Dracula again. Fear changes its shape but never disappears. The unknown has always fascinated humanity. Dracula became a mirror reflecting our deepest fears. Legends survive because people keep telling them. One local legend became the world's legend. Stories often outlive empires. History remembers Vlad. The world remembers Dracula. Some shadows never fade. Every ending becomes another beginning. The mountains still keep their silence. The forests still whisper old names. Perhaps immortality was never about living forever. As long as humanity tells stories, Dracula will never truly die.